that Jade Druid still has sort of a leg up.
I agree entirely with you. I'm willing to back you up all the way on that one, although I know a lot of people who won't, so we've got to be a bit careful. A lot of people think that Jade Druid is no longer as good as it was against those big 2 decks.
And we can see that Firebat is about to queue up this Jade Druid, and that is 2 purple worms in the opening hand for him, whereas Yulsic, as a rogue, it always sucks to be off the coin, but if Yulsic can hit some early pirates in a good curve, that's what he's looking for. But again, if the Patches is able to get a lot of trades, that might actually be in favor of Firebat.
Firebat's actually got to decide how much of this he wants to keep. This hand is so insane. With the ramp and the corridor creepers, he's actually got decisions to make as to, if I keep it all, it's not actually that good anymore.
Right, I think he's actually done the mulligan already, and he kept one creeper and got the other one off the mulligan. So
he'll be fine with it, at least he hasn't got the decision to make.
Right, so Yulsic, thankfully for him, picking up a 1-drop in the form of Firefly, not quite the strongest start, but as long as he can stabilize to get something to land that Bone Mare on, I think he should be in a decent position.
Yeah, of course, the downside for Yulsic is that he is just going to lose a lot of these minions at some point, and those corridor creepers are just going to go completely insane down those corridors.
Yep.
Creep a lot.
Okay, so for Yulsic, this seems like a pretty easy dagger turn. Firebat also probably going to take it slow. I don't think you coin Jade Blossom for him with this kind of hand. Of course, it depends on the next draw.
Yeah, he'll probably be trying to work out exactly how much he thinks these creepers are going to cost on the turn that he casts them. But yeah, don't see him panicking anytime soon to get rid of this coin. Yeah. The Wrath can be safe for a lot longer yet. 1 a turn, who cares right now?
Right. So for Yulsic, he's thinking about going for the deckhand plus the Flame Elemental maybe this turn. Of course, he can curve into Captain and buff up 2 pirates if he plays the deckhand this turn. But again, as you talked about in the previous game, going for deckhand on a turn where the Druid naturally wants to hero power if they don't have Wild Growth can actually be giving the Druid something to do when they would otherwise wouldn't have. But I think Yulsic did see that Firebat kept, was it 2 cards? So he could probably expect some sort of ramp from Firebat. So actually saying that, I like the deckhand this turn.
See what he chooses to go with. He does agree with you. I like to sometimes, it's a difficult decision because the dagger up is surprisingly powerful a lot of the time, but so is hitting a Druid in the face for a lot of damage on turn 2.
Right. Dagger usually can help a bit more in aggressive mirrors, but I guess Yulsic recognizes that in this matchup, he's meant to be the aggressor. He's meant to flood the board and try to get in as much damage possible before the Spreading Plague turn.
Yeah, and he also has not a lot to do on turn 4, so that could be a dagger turn anyway with his captain coming up. Going to buff this board out of sight. Firebat probably sees this coming as well right now, obviously.
Yep, and he just decides to take it because, well, there's nothing much else to do but ramp. Yep. I think a preemptive Wrath is really, really unwarranted. And if you expect a captain, of course you want to save the Wrath to deal with that.
Yeah, and that's where he's going to be, and he's going to rely on those corridor creepers, but he's going to be a long way behind by the time they come into play.
Right, so Yulsic here thinking about, trade with a 1-1. I actually don't see how much the trade does. I feel like this is still weak to swipe if the swipe is there. But then again, an extra 1 damage might not be all that relevant in favor of, like, say, playing around something that he doesn't expect. So
Firebat going to take a lot of attack off the board with this Wrath that he's been saving. And suddenly those pirates look normal again.
Yep, and the creeper's getting ever cheaper, quarter cheaper.
Yeah, it's a bit of a sleeper, this one.
Are we really going down this road?
So early.
Rhyming all day.
So early in the day.
Right, so Yulsic really would have wanted to pick up a minion that was a bit more mid-range here. You really don't want to be playing another 1-health minion into your board full of 1-health minions, which is really weak to swipe. But I wouldn't blame him for going for it here just because I think this hand is telling him to go.
He needs to think about turn 6, though. He needs to think about how he's going to get through taunts, and he wants to keep the deck hand potentially for that. So it's not an easy decision here,
right,
whether to save it as an activator for his Vile Spine or whether to just get the extra 2 to face.
So saving it for Vile Spine, what kind of taunts do you think he would be trying to get rid of?
Behemoth?
Or possibly just a big minion? Yeah.
That's about it, I think.
Vile Spine really doesn't do all that much against Spreading Plague. But then I do like saving the deckhand also for, as an activator and possibly a charge Bone Mare target, which is some burst that you usually can't expect from Rogue.
So Firebat's in a position, actually, where if he can pick up a swipe, those creepers would be insane.
Yep.
But obviously he's already had to use stuff. And this is now the difficult turn for Yulsic.
Right. The captain pickup makes this decision a lot less straightforward. Obviously, it was just a Scalebane a while ago, but if he plays captain, he can go get a nice trade on the Carter Creeper with 2 buff pirates.
Yeah, how much can he afford to trade? I mean, he's obviously got to do some trading, or this is just going to take over the game, but...
Right. I think, I like this trade into just the 2/2. Get rid of the minion that really doesn't mind trading into his minions, whereas the Carter Creeper, if it's going for small fries like this for Firebat, it's really not the most intuitive thing to do. So I think that this play from Yulsic makes it more awkward for Firebat.
Firebat picking up Aya, making things a little bit less awkward suddenly, because without that Aya, that was definitely going to be a nightmare turn. But look at how ridiculous this has suddenly got thanks to Corridor Creeper.
Yeah, and Aya is just one of those minions that you can't simply Vile Spine away.
One does not simply Vile Spine an Aya.
So I'm thinking the Vile Spine's going to come down on the Creeper, of course, here. And I'd like to see a Deckhand and Dagger trade into the 3/3 and then push the rest to face. Seems like it's not too weak to Plague to do that, but he still gets in 5 with the patches.
Yeah, that will take down to 11. The clock is fine because Firebat's basically had very little ramp, so there's no UI panics. Obviously, there's other stuff. The tempo stuff that's in Firebat's deck is providing a massive problem, but Yulsic still has plenty of good tempo himself.
Right. The concern for Yulsic here is that he wants to make sure he has at least 1 minion for the Bone Mare to stick. So the problem with trading off Deckhand and Dagger is that, well, a swipe would clear everything off with Aya, but then again, swipe beats him anyway, so I think that he can't be too scared in this position.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to go with the play you were suggesting, clear up as much as makes sense and force some damage through to the face. And now it's all about how Firebat draws for the next 2 turns, because obviously the Bone Mare is the play this turn.
Yep, and we see why Bone Mare is such an innovative inclusion for the J Druid. I guess we've been seeing it a bit last meta, but definitely it really shines now that, primarily Warlock is a target for Target
yeah,
for
that's how
J
I feel
Druid,
about them too.
I like the interaction between Bone Mare and Aya because, a lot of aggressive decks would prefer to just not deal with Aya, and Aya's a 6. It naturally curves into Bone Mare on 7. So if you're expecting that your Aya sticks, Bone Mare is just insane.
Yeah, and getting what he can out of that. The Wild Growth is a surprisingly good pickup, actually, because he's going to be able to play that alongside something next turn, whatever he picks up, unless it's Kun, obviously, that's about it.
Yeah.
And then the UI coming down 1 turn early might just save him.
Yeah, I think Firebat has turned the corner here without a second Vile Spine for Yulsic to get rid of the 8/8 easily. I think Yulsic is forced to just play down a Bone Mare and full trade the whole board, and obviously that Bone Mare will die to Firebat's own, and then whatever Firebat draws can be played except for Kun. So that will give Firebat the initiative next turn.
Then that Wild Growth will allow him to UI most of Yulsic's stuff and stabilize it. This 11 health is a little bit precarious.
Yeah, Yulsic does run Leroy, but he's not running Cold Blood. So the best burst he could hope for is probably Leroy Shadow Step.
Does he have a Spellbreaker hanging around in there?
Yeah, he's got... he's got the double Chain Gang.
Okay.
That seems to be the kind of flex spot for Tempo Rogue these days. For the 4-drop, Spellbreaker or Chain Gang or one of each.
Yeah, and that just depends what meta you think you're building your lineup for and what you think people are going to play. We just saw in the last match... Kuhn sort of getting the meta, or at least getting his opponent's meta wrong. But yeah, that's the luck of the draw to some extent. But by just going completely, no one's bringing aggro.
Yeah, so kind of unlucky for Firebat to not pick up a minion there. It does mean that Yulsic will have the initiative in the following turn, but, Ultimate Infestation is probably the best 10 there is. So with that in mind for Yulsic, I guess he's just going to try and play as many minions on board as possible, which would be Chain Gang plus Captain.
Yeah, Chain Gang and Captain looks good. Say about the SI7 in case the 2 damage to face can ever help. Get down as much as you possibly can in terms of attack. He's got no pirates left.
No, I don't think he does.
So just get the Captain down as a 3/3 right now.
So obviously for Firebat, he's going to infest the Captain, and we're going to see quite a powerful Bone Mare on the backswing from Yulsic. So I think that missing a minion last turn really, really hurt Firebat here. Because imagine if he had drawn a Jade Behemoth, he would likely be able to clear the whole board between between the minion trades and the ultimate infestation.
Up to a decent health total, and he should be able to stabilise the spreading plague into something. Can he pick up a something, though? There's a Kun, that's usually a something.
Yeah, that's like 5 somethings, so...
It's a lot of somethings going on. Second chain gang for Yulsic. That's not the card he wants going into a spreading plague, which he now knows is almost certainly in his opponent's hand after UI, of course.
Right, this is a bone mare, no choice at all, and it's going to go all face at this point. Once you see the Druid has drawn that many cards, there's no way you can go for value in trades. I think the play for Yulsic is to pray for no spreading plague and pray to maybe draw a Leroy to kind of just get over the finish line.
Yeah, and that's what he's thinking about. It's not this turn he's thinking about. He's thinking about what's my outs, how wide can I go, can I beat a spreading plague if I go wide? What's the chance that Firebat doesn't have it? We know it's small, but he'll be trying to work out how small.
Not small at all.
There's 13 cards left in Firebat's deck, so you can have them both in the bottom half. It's a thing that's happened once, I think, somewhere.
Right, so Firebat will be down to a meager 8 health after this, but between Plague and, I guess, developing a Fandral behind it, seems pretty safe.
Yeah, it does look pretty good. Might be tempted to get that Fandral down, then get the Kun down the turn after for the 10 armor as well, if the Fandral isn't dealt with, which it probably won't be.
Yeah. He's noting that if you do go with the Spreading Plague and Fandral, I think you're still dead to Leroy because the 2 minions left on board will trade through both of the Plague minions, and then Leroy plus Agent could get through.
Okay.
So he's actually going for... Is this a Behemoth play plus Wrath or Swipe, maybe?
It's interesting how sure he was that he needed to play Kun, and now he's working out the rest of his turn. Feels like that was all part of one turn to me.
Right. Thing with Kun is that although it refreshes your mana crystals and basically is a free minion, it gives you 1 less Plague minion if you're thinking about that. Looks like Firebat's going for Bone Mare instead. We haven't seen both Vile Spine from Yulsic, have we?
No, just the one.
Right.
The one on turn 6.
So it seems like Firebat's got a decent read that it might not be there.
Okay.
So that is absolutely what Yulsic will be wanting to pick up here.
Yeah, this also stops Yulsic if he doesn't kill Firebat right now from being able to go wide, but it also forces him to go wide. So it works out quite well for it. But like you say, that's a tight read from Firebat there.
And this will be an even tighter Plague.
Yeah. This should defend him for the longest time. Maybe he just felt he needed to. Maybe he felt the Plague didn't stem the tide enough. Like you were saying, it's still lethal anyway. So this one won't be, though.
Yeah, I'm thinking Plague Swipe is super clean here, given that the Rogue, of course, doesn't run any spell-based burst. It's just going to be Leroy. Putting a bunch of taunts in the way definitely gives Firebat enough time to seal the game.
Yeah, because it will end quickly. I mean, we've not even paid attention to Yulsic's health total. It's not been relevant. He's trying to kill Firebat quickly. He's the aggro. He's down to 15. So actually, when the end comes, it will come incredibly fast.
Yeah, honestly, even if Yulsic were at 30, I think Firebat has it in the bag here.
Well, this is the reward Firebat got for taking that 1 turn's worth of danger. He is now just going to be able to tidy everything up. Well, enough up anyway. Right,
and nice of you to bring that point up, because that is definitely a mark of the best players in Hearthstone, when they're able to pinpoint whether risk in 1 turn is worth a bigger chance of winning in your next turns. Because maybe in 1 turn, sure, you're at a high risk of dying if you make this play, but even if you survive on that 1 turn, maybe that kind of play makes your following turns less safe. Anyway.
Yeah, you just end up in this sort of snowball just going wrong effect, whereas this just turned the corner now.
Right, so Yulsic has 1 play, and that's trade the Bone Mare and then play it back down, make a bigger edge, which probably still dies to the Bone Mare and UI next turn.
All that stuff that we can see. Take your pick. Or take your pickaxe. We're just sort of sitting here waiting for the inevitable here.
Right. I'm really not sure what Yulsic is thinking about at this point.
What to queue in game 2?
Yeah, that's definitely a good guess.
Well, I guess from where he sat, maybe this doesn't end up in him dying.
maybe not next turn, but surely in the next two.
Firebat can clear the board and put down a behemoth. That seems like it just shores up most stuff.
I like the UI.
The UI is also decent. Just get out of range. Puts a 5/5 down.
There's a billion different ways of doing it.
Yeah, this is... There is a best way and a worst way, but they're all pretty similar in terms of percentage.
Which is 100%.
Yeah.
Knowing that there's an 8 Firebat is just 1 out of range of Leroy and Dagger top deck. So
there it is.
That is some poetic justice right there.
Saw that earlier with the Archivist. It's like, just comes to spite you. And you think this game is over, and it's like, oh, that's not fair. Where were you last turn or the turn before, Leroy?
Surely Yulsic knows that if he doesn't go face and trades, he loses, and if he does go face, he loses quicker. So that's just going to be probably some contemplation about what to do next, and that will be Firebat getting that Jade Druid out of the way.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said sometimes for just taking your time and resetting your brain, especially if you're feeling a bit like either nervous or upset. Yulsic's not nervous. He held the stare on the handshake into Firebat. There's a little bit of friendly banter between them in the match, in the press conference as well yesterday.
Right, and Yulsic is a player that when I was watching him on stream from 2 years ago, a lot of casters would talk about how he improved every time they see him.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that story of, wow, it might be this underdog that is going through a lot of practice and finally making it to a bigger stage where he can compete with people who have proven themselves time and time again. So it's really great to see that kind of storyline.
Yeah, those ones are really interesting where the player sort of not gets lucky. I mean, you don't get to the APAC finals and then get to the Worlds by being completely lucky, but performs above their expected results and then goes, oh, wow, now I can compete with the best. They learn so much from the best players. They absorb it all. Yulsic, a regular in Twitch chat, a regular in various streams. He learns from a lot of streamers as well as from his own plays and experiences. And like you say, he's become a pretty terrific player over the last 12 months since he went to the Worlds.
Right, and he is the sole Hong Kong player in this tournament, although as far as I'm aware, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau are considered kind of one region. So
yeah.
I wonder if he's feeling some kind of hometown pride as well, carrying that into this tournament.
Yeah, they've been announced as a group, those 3 places, and there is a decent-sized crowd out there. The tickets for this sold out in 15 minutes when they went on. And with the band introducing like that, that's worth the entry fee alone, I think.
Yeah, this does feel like a concert, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It's been an amazing atmosphere out there. But like you say, actually showing some pride in front of what is the home crowd for him in this tournament. The draw was done from 2 different halves, so those players were separated, so they couldn't play each other in the first round. And so far, 1-0 down. And
right, this is looking like a pretty sick hand to make a big boy Edwin.
Big boy Edwin against a mage that has no really good way of dealing with them.
Right. Firebat has kind of a strong turn of Lackey into explosive runes, but then again, explosive runes is not the kind of secret you want to be playing into just to kill off a deckhand or a Firefly.
Depends how he values that 5 to the face from the runes, but you've got to fight for the board. It's really weird matchup. You end up doing really inefficient kills on minions to make sure you get slightly more damage through on face in the long run. It's a really odd matchup. Right,
and against as any class against Rogue, I think it's really important to look for those cards that can deal with early game pirates neatly, like Mana Worm. 1-3 is a really, really strong stat line against Rogue, but Firebat is saying it's probably too greedy to try and mulligan for that. Corridor Creeper is definitely a keep in this case, though.
Queuing to a mage means this hand could get good in a hurry. And like you say, the Corridor Creeper as well goes like, if you get another secret, this could actually go crazy.
Right, and would you say the mage is favored in this kind of matchup? Historically, mages have been favored against rogues, but these are very different iterations of mages and rogues.
Yeah, my instinct is that the rogue is favoured, but only if the rogue plays very well. The matchups I've seen from top players, the rogue seems to be winning the most. But if you do any sort of stats hunt, I think the mage tends to come out on top between like rank 5s or something.
Yeah, and actually I'm going to take the opposite stance and say that the mage is favored.
Okay.
I feel like having so much burn behind an ice block has just historically been so good against rogue, but the way things play out here could be very, very different. As we can see from Yulsic, he picked up Keleseth, and he has the Shadow Step in hand, which is, of course, historically... not that historically, it's kind of a recent development.
It feels like it's historic. It's been a long time we've had these things happening to us.
But everybody knows that that is an incredible opening turn, especially with a pirate to pull out patches and maybe the next turn too. However, we see that if he plays the Keleseth, it would get explosive ruined. So I like to see this kind of foresight here. Not getting too greedy with it. Also, saving the coin for Edwin / SI7 seems way more beneficial. A lot of newer players would look at that Keleseth and Shadow Step and go, I need to go in with this as soon as possible, but there's many situations where it's better to hold on to that.
This corridor creeper, though, it's creeping closer to turn 4. That's what it's doing. And Yulsic,
I'm more interested in this Keleseth, man.
Yeah, these two decks, this is what Hearthstone should be. It's two people playing apparently broken things that end up balancing out because they're both equally ridiculous.
Does this balance, though? I feel like with a hand like Backstab and SI, and then possibly a cheap minion to pick up to go with an Edwin, I think that Yulsic's in a pretty good position here.
But your opponent could turn things into sheep and then play a 7/7 for like 1. But yeah, I do agree. I think that Yulsic's in a better position. It's just, it seems equally silly on the other side to me.
Sure.
There are situations where I'd be quite upset if my opponent did to me what Firebat's doing to, or trying to do to Yulsic. But like you say, Yulsic's is just more sick.
And we did see Potion of Polymorph from Firebat, which is not a usual inclusion in this kind of Secret Mage deck, but it's a conscious decision thinking about Warlocks in the meta, and it's also something that Purple is bringing in his Secret Mage as well.
Yeah, it's also something that you see a lot in open deck formats where somebody brings an extra secret they wouldn't bring them maybe to ladder, just to give their opponent more to worry about. Otherwise, a secret's not so secret if you only bring like one of them.
That's very true. In a tournament meta, just playing more things can trip up your opponent.
But Yulsic's not up for being tripped up today. He's playing around everything pretty well. But this Edwin that looked like it's going to be a big deal hasn't really had the chance to present itself yet.
Right, because Yulsic has spent his resources dealing with secrets efficiently, Edwin hasn't had a chance to shine, although I think it's definitely correct, the line that Yulsic took in this instance. And that is one hell of a top deck.
Yeah, we are sat 2 rooms away from the main area, and I heard the cheer go up from here as that was drawn. Definitely no surprise at all who's being the hometown fan favourite here.
And that is quite a weak turn for Firebat. I'm sure he would have wanted to pick up maybe a Mana Worm to go with this. He can't complain about Fireball to clear a 6 health minion's really clean, and then he can refill with Alaneth. But it seems like from how I see it, Firebat is going to be just the passive person in this matchup. He's forced to react.
Yeah, this is weird because Yulsic really needs to use this backstab on his own minion to activate these things. He might have to work out whether he thinks it's worth it to really ruin things up here to get this minstrel down.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with this. It is so worth it. The alternative is probably just playing down an Edwin and getting a dagger. The Rogue, with the addition of Elven Minstrel, it's quickly become a staple in Tempo Rogue. I think it's just so important to be able to have your constant minion pressure that giving up a 2/2 and a spell is not too significant.
Has Firebat hit Yulsic with a minion yet? 5 of that damage came from explosive wounds. Has there been a couple of pings to the face and that's it?
I think that may be it.
That's what we've been talking about so far. That's the headline is, can you hit them in the face with your mage minions? There was a turn 4 7/7. Well, it was turn 4 mana anyway. And the 5/5, sorry. The Creeper hasn't hit anything. It just died.
Right, and that's because Yulsic has taken this line of removing the mage minions, which you repeat a lot.
I know, it's going to just go on and on all day, I'm afraid.
How you beat mage is you deal with the minions, even if it's inefficient, so that the burn spells are just not enough to get them over the line.
Yeah, and he's done a good job of it.
Keleseth coming in really
That's
clutch here. Look at that 5/5 captain resisting Valet and Ping.
Excuse me.
Turns out that double Keleseth is good. Who knew? But it turns out it's good even in the face of a fairly aggressive attack, which is actually something that in the old methods was sometimes a problem. Like, you'd do the double Keleseth, your opponent hit you, and you couldn't react quick enough with your big minions.
Yeah, double Keleseth is good, especially when timed correctly, and it was really that first play of the South Sea deckhand that gave Yulsic the opportunity to kind of swing it around like this. And now he's got but a block pop is a block pop. I don't think it's worth using the Frostbolt in this situation to take the pop.
But it's only one block as well, right? Unless Glyphs pull any out as well. That seems to be the standard now. You just play one block. People play 2 for the longest time, I think. Well, the longest time, like 3 days. That seems like a long time in this meta.
Right, and even if he pops at 3, Frostbolt gets there anyway, so it seems like it's just going to be Minstrel and Dagger.
I've got to be careful here if you're wondering why he's taking so long. You know, the damage can turn around really fast, especially if he's leaving minions up. If a couple of blocks get played,
he may be thinking about using the Dagger to clear a minion instead of pop at 4. Huge difference, but I think I like the pop at 3 better. Freeze effect comes from the Glyph and then a Frostbolt face. Something really, really fringe, but it's things you can afford to think about when you're so far ahead.
Yeah, playing around random effects is usually really difficult. I think Firebat himself was saying a few months ago that he just threw the notebook at the wall one day when he was trying to work out how to play around all the random effects in Mage.
Yeah, it's just too difficult to do that without knowing the percentages. And that's a second block for Firebat, so that's obviously the only way he can survive the turn, so that's an auto pick. Although, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to survive the turn after. It
doesn't look that way, but again, this is where Yulsic would have really... That's why he thought so long. He's left up 7 attack of minions. There's a block, he's going to do a lot of damage. If this was backed up with a fireball or something, this would just suddenly get terrifying.
Yeah, and that just is testament to how crazy Mage can be with, again, all these random effects. You talked about it a while ago, the fact that Mage is able to discover so many tools and methods of cheating, you call it.
I know, I probably a word I shouldn't use too often, but yeah, that's how I call it.
No, I see it that way as well. Means that they're not too massively unfavored no matter what the matchup is. Although, from this position, looks like Yulsic's very easily going to be able to clean up that Apprentice, which locks out the Pyroblast on 9.
But he's also got to clean up the board. He's got to make sure he's like Fireball or threat if he doesn't take care of this board. And remember, he procced on 3, which means he can proc again with a Frostbolt now, but he can't proc cleanly to get another attack through to proc on to blow up next turn necessarily.
Right, this kind of turn is definitely a mechanics of Hearthstone test, I would say. What's the best way to play around all of these secrets while still maintaining a decent block pop and enough damage to get rid of all the rest of the minions. Now, I think the Frostbolt is definitely going to go on one of these minions because I don't think you can play around Glyph into a third ice block.
Right, you've got to set a way to win next turn, though, because you are going to die if you're not careful here.
Right.
As far as Yulsic's concerned, he's seeing all sorts of things in Firebat's hand that aren't necessarily there. And he's also got to be careful not to get an explosive runes in the face, because then he probably just loses next turn. Right.
Definitely no minions are going to be played here by Yulsic, and this dagger is not going to go into a minion as far as I'm concerned.
No.
So I'd like to see a Frostbolt onto the 5/5 because it's removing most damage. Or freezing it.
As long as he can still win next turn.
Right. Oh, did he go for the captain?
Looks like he's going for the captain.
Ooh,
it's a 6/6, that's why. Okay.
Kelliset's a good card.
Kelliset's good, right? You've got another captain in play. The Kelliset buff. Yeah, they buff each other. Just craziness happens.
Right. So good spot from Yulsic there.
Had the APM to clear all that lot up. This has gone to the 2-1 just to make sure he protects the board. Why not?
Right, yeah. If he had used a minion, he wouldn't have been able to pop the block, which is obviously the first priority. So
absolutely key. Sorry, talking over there. That he got rid of the secrets there, because now the Medivh's Valet is slower as well. It's not going to matter as it happens, but it could have been very important.
Yeah, dead as a Doornail, which is also Firebat in the next turn.
It is. And it does make you wonder if the second block will ever come back into this Mage deck, because that was terrifying there for a second.
Ooh, maybe in this kind of matchup, sure, but I feel like adding in a block just makes your matchup so much worse in other opponents. So, well played to Yulsic there. I think that last turn was really clean.
Yeah, worked everything out well again. Working out he's going to get that 6 health captain to eat that, to get rid of the Valet, because that could have been a big deal. If 3 damage from a Valet and then a Fireball or something, suddenly that damage starts really adding up.
Right. Who would have thought a captain can get to 6/6 at the point you play it? I've only ever seen it 5/5 most, I think.
That's absolutely ridiculous. 1 game apiece here in this first round match. It is single elimination. Pretty big deal. Right. We'll play Kranich in the next round.
We probably didn't stress this enough earlier, but the fact that it is single elims means that as soon as you lose one set, you are out. And honestly, winning one set gets you quite a bit more money. So yes. I'm sure all of these players are very much concerned with getting as far as possible.
Yes, very high out event, even for getting here and turning up and doing all the media stuff. But it scales up rapidly to that $20,000 first prize. It's only a 16-player knockout, so you haven't got to win many to get there, but you don't want to go out in the first round. Well, you've got 2 days in this lovely venue if you do.
Right, so if you're Yulsic here, I'm thinking you might queue up the Paladin if you're expecting Firebat to stick with a mage. That kind of mage has difficulty dealing with wide boards, which is obviously the specialty of Paladin. It's kind of the new spiritual zoo, I would say. It's more zoo-ish than Warlock zoo.
Does Firebat and Yulsic, they strike you as mind games gamers, or do you think they just randomise?
I feel like they just randomise.
Because they both talk a good game, they're both like very much into trying to get into each other's heads, but I suspect they'll just randomise. But you're right. I mean, you've got to at least work that out.
In that regard, it seems like Yulsic lost the mind game / randomization. We don't know what's going on, but obviously Firebat would have preferred to queue a priest into this Paladin, which has a lot more AoE. Spirit Lash, Wild Pyro, those are ways that you deal with Paladin. Nice and clean.
Plenty of early game in Firebat's hand to deal with it as well, the stuff you were talking about. Obviously, Mind Blast not so good, but Radiant Elemental is so nice against this sort of deck. Just a solid 2-drop.
Right, and especially paired with Holy Smite, it's actually great tempo to deal with something like a Knife Juggler. And if he picks up Powered Shield, that's pretty much an instant win con against this kind of aggressive deck. However, maybe Firebat's thinking about trying to go for something more essential to his game plan, like a Raza the Chain.
Interesting that you see the Novice Engineer as worth keeping, because it will challenge some of those small minions on the other side of the board whilst powering through the deck. Maybe he feels it's a good enough trade that he can keep.
Yeah, right. I'm actually not sure about the Novice keep, but if he feels like at least it's something to do on turn 2 or 3, whereas he might have had nothing, then I can definitely respect that.
And the one attack actually challenges some stuff for once. Like normally it just dies to whatever your opponent plays, but in this it's sort of going to trade. It's not going to trade up, but it's going to trade a little bit and keep your defense coming along.
So Firebat here going to go for full tempo, playing out the 2/3 to challenge whatever minion comes down and getting rid of the 2 attack minion. It's really, really strong here because it's not a weapon turn yet for Yulsic, and the Direwolf buffing patches just isn't enough to trade.
It's turn 2. I make this observation once per tournament, pretty much. Like, things happen really early in Hearthstone at the moment.
Yeah, this is definitely kind of game-changing in this matchup. The early board is so important for the Paladin to be able to scale because their effects are, buff-oriented, having this unidentified maul. It's Blessed, I believe.
Yeah.
Obviously, that gets better the more minions you have.
Right. We couldn't get that the other day when we were trying.
Yeah, always ton.
Yeah, well, that's all we got when the casters were testing these decks.
Obviously, that's why we're not on the stage.
Exactly. That's the only reason.
So Yulsic, I think, is forced to just play out the dog. Oh, guess he disagreed.
Yeah, he felt he was giving it away for no reason, so save resources. And Firebat's going to be able to get a good read on the hand from that play because Paladins don't pass on turn 2 at the moment.
Yeah, actually, that made a lot of sense from Yulsic there because you would expect the trade from the Radiant onto the Direwolf, and you're still going to weapon it down anyway. So it did make a lot of sense to go for the recruit there, and I guess Yulsic is going to play the Divine Shield Maul for 1 minion.
It's not fun. He's in a really awful spot. He'll be thinking about how to work around this call to arms for next turn. Like, how do I want the board to look going into turn 4? What's the best I can build around the call to arms?
Right.
So he's actually said clear at the board and then try and rebuild?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, thinking about call to arms if you're planning to get the Blessed Maul onto as many minions as possible. I guess that's the reasoning for playing Rallying over that, even though it's more damage that you waste for this turn.
Well, there's the empty board we were talking about, but it's not really getting... I don't know, Yulsic's not getting enough damage done, but Firebat's not really punishing it just yet, although Prefect just punishes it by not dying.
Great order from Yulsic there, attacking first, because the Knife Juggler coming down could have given Firebat some unnecessary draws. Not quite there. But this is the best that Yulsic's going to get, honestly. I think the game plan for him here is to stick as many minions as possible and try to get a good Tarim to come down, but Firebat has had a decent amount of answers and minion pressure, and a board of 3 1/1s is a nightmare for this deck to
Right, and that's going back to that Novice Engineer key, right? We're seeing how powerful these 1/1s have been. We saw how powerful that was. 3 of them that don't actually cost you all that mana this time either. Fantastic deal.
So Yulsic gonna build that kind of board for himself.
Reporting for duty.
Yeah, when you're trying to keep up with the priest on 1/1s, it doesn't feel like the game's going your way.
Not even close. If he was planning to trade with that Squire... Oh, no. This is the Maul that gives attack, obviously. My bad. So I guess this is just going to go face.
Yeah, it doesn't... He can protect his Righteous Protector, which seems really ridiculous, by attacking into one of the 1/1s.
It's called the Protector for a reason.
Yeah, the Protected. The Protector becomes the Protected. And so it's making it a difficult decision. If he thinks he can get one extra attack out of that Protector, it would be a good deal to trade in one of these now.
Quickly.
But when you're trying to play around the wealth of options that Priest has, yeah, you do that.
At some point against Priest, you just decide that you're not playing around anything because you can't beat everything.
Yeah. That's what makes it so difficult. They've got so many similar options when they get enough mana that a Spirit Lash and a Dragonfire Potion start to mean roughly the same thing.
Right, and for Yulsic here, this is probably the best turn 6 he can get. Tarim definitely gives him... Did I miss something? What was that circle for?
I'm trying to work that out too.
I am mind blown. Well, okay, obviously this turn for Yulsic is going to be the Tarim. I'd like to see all of the minions go face. Or a recruit trading into the Raza, because you definitely don't trade the Divine Shield away, because that makes you way too weak to Kazakus Potion or Dragonfire Potion.
Yulsic's having the same headache that we're having.
Yeah.
Did we just miss something really obvious there?
Oh, playing around Divine Favor, I guess.
Seems good.
Yeah, so Firebat decides that holding the circle to combo with an Akanai is not worth the possibility of giving Yulsic an extra card.
And, of course, because we've got Chaos Division, we know it's not there. And Yulsic does decide to go with his Tarim play. Another play for him, but it's going to be the only time he has a lot of minions in his mind, so it's a way of playing around Dragonfire to some extent as well.
Right. This means that 2 minions survive past Dragonfire, which is pretty insane, so I don't think Firebat's going to go for that.
Exactly.
So probably trying to fetch Pain for this Tarim here. Psychic Scream's pretty good, though.
Yeah, that's just... And we've been in this position, again, messing around with the deck. When you Psychic Scream one of those 1/1s back, it just makes the deck so awful. Your deck's full of really bad, inefficient minions suddenly.
Right, Psychic Scream is just such a powerful card. Sometimes you would think that, well, it's 7 mana, so it should be worse than Twisting Nether, which costs 8 mana, right? But this kind of card negates Death Rattles and also dilutes your opponent's deck.
So, yeah, it's variant, right, though, because sometimes if you put it full of Bone Mares and things, it can actually just, they just come back and hit you with them again. So it's well balanced in that regard, but it currently doesn't feel well balanced because on top of all the other things that Highlander Priest can do, it is just nuts.
And for Yulsic here, I don't think he can afford to hold on to so many minions. Sure, you saw a Shadow Visions come down, but if your opponent plays Psychic Scream next turn, are you really winning by playing double Direwolf Alpha the next turn?
Probably not, although you give yourself some 4-attack minions and all that jazz going on, but he has to do that thing against Priest where you say, do I think they have it? And with 3 cards in hand, he may be tempted to just go all in here, and he certainly won't play into an Anduin, but things don't get better for you, and 9 damage isn't enough.
Yeah, so for Yulsic, if the Psychic Scream comes down, his board the next turn, if he holds these 2 Direwolves, will just be 2 3/2s and possibly a 2/1 with the hero power. I guess he could just go in with Lost in the Jungle as well. Still not enough to get him over the line. So I prefer just going in right now.
Yeah, so that you're saying that basically, of course, if he recovers from the Scream with this mediocre hand, it's not worth it anyway, so you take the chance that you can't beat Scream either way.
Mm-hmm. But Yulsic actually going for halfway play here. Maybe with a possible Divine Favor top deck in mind.
Right. Well, yeah, Yulsic was not impressed with that. And Firebat just begins the process of stabilizing. This gives a chunk of damage coming out.
Yeah, which will get Dragonfire Potion away.
You're such a spoil sport, Gia.
I am. Sorry. I thought you were the miserable one between us two. Trying to have...
Yeah, good call. Trying to make me look happy.
Of course, if Firebat picks up a cheap spell, there is a more efficient way of doing this. You don't really want to Dragonfire all these small guys.
Yeah, he won't be able to test with the Glimmer Root to see if he can pick up any sort of spell, unfortunately, although there aren't many in the Paladin deck. But he should be fine to just clear with the Dragonfire. And then he gets Velen into healing your own face. That's when you start really putting the pressure back on the Paladin, stabilizing.
Just Velen hero power. You know, back in the days of Old Priest, people were like, huh? Why would you want to do that? It's so slow. But the fact that Highlander Priest has so many other tools, it gives him the time to be able to just do slow plays and take back the game very excruciatingly for their opponent.
You know what's worse than one Psychic Scream in a Highlander deck?
Is it maybe 2 Psychic Screams?
It really is. It just seems, Yulsic's face says how I feel. Here's the Divine Favor.
Oh, despite double boards of, 4 minions being shuffled back, and Yulsic gets the one card that could maybe bring him back into this game.
Pretty sure these are just the cards he gave away. They're just straight back.
So, if he has Anduin in mind, he won't want to be buffing anything with Blessing of Kings this turn. But can you beat Anduin? I think no. So I'd like to see Juggler plus Kings here.
Okay.
Job's done. Reporting for
I guess he's just trying to save the Kings for the charge effect, effectively. Sure. And
I just feel like Kings loses to Death and Anduin, I think, whereas this going wide on board loses to Pyro, Spirit Lash, Dragonfire Potion, other things. So, then again, the charge effect, having saved it for charge effect gives it more damage over 2 turns.
Yeah, and he may be thinking there is no Spirit Lash there because we've seen Psychic Scream play 2 turns. So maybe he feels there isn't the small removal available. Maybe he feels that the only removal Firebat has is the big removal, is the Deaths, is the Anduin. So by making a small board again, given those Psychic Screams have been played by Firebat, maybe the Yulsic is going, okay, I don't think you've got the little stuff.
Alright, that's actually a really interesting read. And I like it. So, Velen plus Binding Heal and the Raza hero power puts Firebat at a range where none of that matters. But definitely when you're in this kind of position where you even have at least a 1% chance to win, you still gotta think about what the best thing to do is.
Yeah, Priest just saying start the game again with fewer cards in hand, and I've got 9 mana.
Yeah, and so have you, but you can't do much with it.
Because you're a silly paladin.
Have fun.
And you got 7 mana, 5/5s in your hand.
So can he play both Creeper this turn? Only if he trades away both of his all
yeah,
that's
which he should, right? I think he can Blessing of Kings, trade away everything if he orders it right, and then play both Creepers.
Yeah, that makes each creeper cost 3, so 6 plus 4 makes sense, but obviously we see the Dragonfire Potion is going to make all of that useless.
Yeah. It's actually where he's going to make the decision as well.
Yeah,
do I just want a dude and a creeper, or do I want 2 creepers?
Yeah, I think you definitely want 2 creepers here. Having an extra dude is not going to do much, and spacing your threats is really not going to do much, because if Firebat has no Dragonfire and has no Anduin, you need to seize that opportunity. Take the window for the extra damage.
There was the play where he could put the 1/1 in, play the creeper, and try and win the ping and keep his juggler alive as well. So maybe he looked at that for a while. But yeah, he's just going to go with the value play. He thinks he's run out of stuff.
Well, very straightforward for Firebat here. He can follow it up with the Glimmer Root. And basically anything he draws is powerful.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous, because he could probably play the card for the Glimmer Root half the time here as well. He can't, it's a Rallying Blade, that'll do.
Yeah, why not?
I guess one thing for Firebat here, which will change soon with only 13 cards left, is he currently has no way of dealing with like the army of 1/1s. It's going to be built apart from 1 Spirit Lash. I guess the Pyromancer as well, actually. Yeah. Okay, yeah, he just deals with everything.
He does have the best ways, yeah. He did hesitate a little bit there, taking the Rallying Blade, perhaps thinking about Divine Favor again, but I feel like it's really not worth playing around at this point.
Yeah, plus it's a decent enough card. for you to deal with stuff.
Right, so Tarim there is actually an insane draw for Yulsic. Gives him a board that is resistant to small AoE, and most of the big AoE has been played for Firebat here.
Now he can start shooting stuff with Soul Priest if he wants. It doesn't really do much, though.
So if he goes Spirit Lash, then Soul Priest...
Actually, it's not that great.
Spirit Lash, Soul Priest, Rallying Blade will clear Tarim and the 3-3 with the minion trade. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's definitely fine. So again, Firebat pretty much out of stuff, but Yulsic's completely out of stuff, and more importantly,
his deck is
Firebat's
1/1s.
Yeah, and Firebat's deck is just full of removal and Anduins and just stuff. Card draw.
Yeah, other shoe drops for Yulsic there finally. Having drawn Divine Favor and then Tarim were probably the only ways he could have come back into the game, but this was inevitable.
He's on the lower health total. This is really ridiculous.
Radiant Elemental, good card on turn 2 with a 1-cost spell.
Seems good, yeah. And again, that Novice Engineer did do some work, which was an interesting key.
Right. Firebat thinking about the Temple Auctioneer. Sure, why not? Most of the deck is absolutely useless cards for Yulsic here. So.
Yeah, 4/4 kills almost everything there is out there. So how much damage has Raza healed in this game?
I don't... Let's not bother. Knowing the number would make me feel depressed, so...
Because I sort of moan about Paladin not being that great all the time, but it's done something like 70 damage in this game.
I wouldn't go as far as 70, but it's been...
50? 7?
57, maybe.
Oh, 57, yeah.
Let's take it together.
Divine Shield Maul. We were definitely doing this wrong.
Well, he can clear the gadget and maintain 3 1/1s.
Yeah, if my opponent draws a spell next turn, I lose either way.
Yep.
It's nice.
I'm just thinking how many dead draws there are left in Firebat's deck.
Every card either draws a card or wins the game, I feel.
And yet, here we are, just waiting and waiting. So what is Yulsic thinking that is his out here?
I can think of lots of things, but most of them aren't related to Hearthstone.
So disconnect.
Yeah. That's not even an out anymore. It's been fixed. So even that's not an out anymore.
I'm not used to that as an APAC caster.
Oh,
no disconnects?
Yeah, exactly.
What kind of magical utopia is
wait
this?
till it comes back. It's great. Alright. The reason we're talking about garbage is because we're just waiting. Oh my goodness, come on.
Excruciating for both parties, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's not so hard when you're winning somehow.
So
Firebat just sitting here making sure he doesn't mess up.
If Yulsic draws Valinir, it's the highest value card left in his deck. Does that help? No, it doesn't.
I mean, if that's not helping in this situation, you start wondering, is it good enough for the deck?
So maybe Yulsic is trying to milk the time out of this to think, how am I going to beat Firebat's... What was the deck remaining?
Firebat has Druid, which is 1, Mage, which lost to Rogue.
Right, so
he has a Mage.
Yeah, so if you're in Yulsic's position, you're thinking, okay, I probably have a good chance against the Mage with this Paladin. So the challenge is how to beat that Mage with his own Mage.
Reporting for duty.
The Mage is banned, I think.
Oh, is it banned? So with the priest, with the priest. Yeah. Which is not as hard as it seems.
Actually, now you go down that route, actually.
Yeah. Priest is priest.
Yeah.
So maybe the bigger challenge is how to beat the Mage with a Paladin. And that is pray that the glyph doesn't get them AoE. Oh, that's...
Again.
Firebat has drawn, like...
That's another out for Yulsic. Maybe Firebat forgot to put any win conditions in his deck.
He's drawn as dead as possible. And because he shuffled double Psychic Scream into Yulsic's deck, that means he's making Yulsic win the Fatigue War.
Well, Yulsic's down to 7, though, somehow. Just been tickled to death.
That is a very nice way of putting it.
And now he's just going to have to... This is just horrible.
I guess Leroy... Oh, wait. Mirror doesn't cost 2 or less.
Someone give these guys some gold so they get some cards.
Unfortunate Direwolf positioning. Well, that the Divine Shield minion is the one next to it because it can't do the bounce buff thing. But Yulsic can clear the Dirty Rat and the Pyro this way, which is his only option.
Credit to Yulsic for sticking to this, because I don't give up many games. I might have given this one up by now. Firebat's got 9 cards left, and they're all Anduin, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'd love to run 9 Anduin in one deck.
Ugh. Yeah, you wouldn't do badly against like big druid decks. Just kill your stuff.
Not
kill
too
your stuff.
shabby at all. That's insane. I feel like these were the last 3 draws were the worst things Firebat possibly could have had. But surely after the you played that on one of Yulsic's minions. Come on, yeah,
definitely.
That's insane. Yulsic actually has. What?
It's a good job that Firebat got this chip damage in while he could, because he's actually got a chance of getting so low on resources that he wouldn't be able to finish. If Yulsic was on like 13 here, this starts becoming irritating. There's got to be a Mind Blast in Firebat.
Right.
What is there?
Yeah, also the Raza that you mentioned. It's put in so much work. Surely there are no more
he does play Mind Blast, so eventually he will win.
Yeah.
There's no craziness can happen. I don't think Yulsic can get any crazy healing.
With Yulsic putting out 8 in the turn and Firebat healing 2, the numbers just don't add up to give Yulsic enough time. Surely there's a good draw in Firebat.
Firebat knew he was playing that card.
Okay,
whatever.
There we go.
5 mana to get the damage, hit your
or
opponent
get damage,
with it.
Sure. Oh,
Yay.
There we go.
Not because I'm a Firebat fan in particular, but because that game of Hearthstone has lingered on long enough. And finally, Firebat, without finding his Anduin, actually gets the damage through. 2-1.
Really fun to cast Hearthstone when things happen in a really climactic manner. When the quest mage gets a perfect draw and they're able to do the combo in the nick of time. Sometimes you have games where one player misses lethal and it's such a huge deal. And sometimes you have games like this where, well...
Firebat drawing 5 damage after only a week! Doesn't quite have the same ring to it somehow.
That's actually New Year then, if it's been a week. Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year. So 2-1, and we're saying that Firebat could still not necessarily get through this game because his final deck is going to be a little bit problematic to get the win with.
Right. I feel like he's bound to get at least one win here. Do you feel the mage has a better chance against Paladin or Priest? In my opinion, it's Paladin because he can get AoE off Glyph. Yeah.
But again, it's one of those situations where he's probably not favoured in each individual game, but overall, he's got a decent chance of each match, so he'll win one or the other.
So for Yulsic, there's the eternal debate of, do you prefer to queue up what you think is the better matchup, kind of get the momentum and confidence going, or do you just get the worst one out of the way?
Milk the airtime in front of these fans, enjoy yourself, and go for the one you think's favoured first.
Great, so let's Priest all day.
Yeah. And we've just seen how much fun Priest can be when it doesn't do its thing like it's meant to.
Trying to see if Firebat maybe trimmed some of the card draw from this list for the new meta, because it seemed insane how long that took. But he still got the Novice, the Loot.
He's still got the Mind Blast as well, so, like you say, maybe he trimmed a bit of card draw. Did he have any
the Gnomish in the 2-4 is gone.
Yeah.
I think. But aside
that's
from
been
that,
gone a while from a lot, though. But
yeah, it has, so... And he actually has Mass Dispel in place of it, which is still a card draw.
Right.
So it seems like Firebat just really did not draw anything to get his deck going.
In fairness, though, he sort of played to that right from the start.
Right.
I'm just going to kill all your things. I don't need to win it quickly. But then the draws after about turn 15 just didn't go his way in terms of actually ending it in a hurry.
Yeah,
and he wasn't being in a hurry. He's happy to chill and win games of Hearthstone.
It's true, and I think that goes back to just saying how powerful Priest is, that even if in the mid-game or near the end of the game you can draw dead for 2-3 turns, eventually, slowly but surely, you will win the game. As long as you've been able to deal with your opponent's threats, which is very often.
To see how Firebat approaches this. 3-2 drops is not where you want to be, but each individual card is pretty decent.
Right. I think Apprentice is an awful stat line for this kind of aggressive matchup, though. Although that is not the hand you want to see either.
You've really got to hunt for those mana worms, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. As 1-3 is a powerful stat line against Rogue, so it is against Paladin. Anything that plays patches, basically. 1-3s pretty good against those. So Firebat is really hoping this glyph is hiding, I don't know, Blizzard or even an Arcane Explosion is a welcome sight for Mage in this matchup.
So how does Yulsic approach this? Is he thinking of turn 1 Coin Juggler into Lost to the Jungle plus the other 1-drop he's about to draw?
Right. I think Coin Juggler is pretty weak if you see a Mana Worm, so he has to say, all right, if my opponent has a Mana Worm, I am not beating that with Coin Juggler.
Okay, and that's what he's decided on. There's a hand. Hand of things. And Firebat's not equipped at all to deal with it, unless this glyph can find him, like you say, Cone of Cold or something weird.
So, play your Living Roots here. The reincarnation of Living Roots.
The reincarnation. I like how Yulsic readjusts in the seat after Mana Worm wasn't played there.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, now we're playing Hearthstone. We're good.
No Worm on 1 is one of the best feelings.
And he's not scared of any of the 2s in this deck. There's no Worm, no Lackey on 1. Then there's not many good 2s anyway.
Yeah.
So you've got a couple of turns.
Arcanologist is the scariest. That would be annoying for him to deal with, but in response, he could go wide. Apprentice is a welcome sight. Like, you'd love to take that trade. So I think for Firebat, it's get the glyph early. Pinging here seems way too slow. Obviously, Yulsic will be able to refill. I guess Firebat disagrees.
Yeah, I feel like, Apprentice is not good enough. Glyph, maybe you can play with the Apprentice next turn to save a mana or in a future turn. So that you get a 3 mana reduction on the card you pick as well. So maybe he's waiting for that and just feels that his hero power in this matchup is so crucial that he's going to use it a lot of times to save resources.
The light protects me.
Yeah, I can see that. I just think that once the board gets too wide, that the hero power does nothing. I'm not sure how much time he'll have to play the glyph later on.
So this might be the turn, but look at all these secrets with no secret synergy at all.
That's what
the runes do nothing.
Mage.
The block does nothing now. The counterspell does little, although your opponent's kept the coin for that reason as well. So your counterspell's just doing nothing. Really, hand's not really doing much.
I wonder.
The Rune's turn? Rune's most likely just kills a Janitor, which refills Yulsic's hand. So
maybe it's Apprentice into Glyph into Hope, but you're trying to work out, do I just want to Glyph or do I want to put the Apprentice down and just leave her open to getting wiped off the board by one of these many weapons that's in the deck?
Yeah, I think I would have liked to see just the Glyph there because I really don't know how long Firebat can delay it.
Yeah, how long can this go on?
Yeah, obviously Apprentice dies to way too many things. He'd rather use it later on, I guess, with maybe a freeze effect or an AoE you get with the Primordial Glyph. Because, going AoE plus a minion to contest is one of the best ways to swing the board.
Yeah, this is about knowing how long you have. So you're saying he's saving that for later. Yeah. He knows how much later he has available to him, and he's happy to hang on to it. If you think you're dying anytime soon, obviously later becomes sooner.
Yeah.
Somehow. And maybe he was also hoping that all the wands had actually just died out. The runes would hang around for a while, maybe to set up a top decked valet or something.
Sure. I'm also thinking that holding on the glyph for this long is really, really disrespecting a Maul that has the Divine Shield on it. Of course, it's really niche. They have to have the Maul, and it has to have the buff effect. It's also disrespecting a buff effect that might not have been able to find a target if your glyph found some sort of AoE.
Just shows how ill-equipped this mage deck is, though, to deal with this wide board. Because Firebat tried. He felt that Ping was the best turn on 2. Yeah. He's trying to build up to some sort of Apprentice turn where he can do more things in one turn. At some point, he's got to actually kill his opponent, let alone get rid of all this stuff that's coming at him.
Yeah, it's crazy that all these 1/1s are such a huge problem. This looks like the kind of board you'd encounter in a tutorial that shows you what to do with your Arcane Explosion. And that is not what Firebat wants to see. All of these things, except for the Deck of Wonders, possibly.
And that's how he sees
with
it.
1 minion, so why not just take the Deck of Wonders? Sure.
That'll please the crowd, at least.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think the other two do anything, so at least this has a chance of doing something. Could be something awful. Could be something amazing.
Yeah, and anyway, he's going to get a Blizzard or something.
So now Yulsic is thinking, okay, my opponent glyphed. They saved it for this long, and they're going into a 5-mana turn, so that might be a Flame Strike for 5. It could be a Firelands Portal as well. So maybe he doesn't want to play this creeper into that. But then again, are you really playing around random effects?
And also, you don't have that many things you can do. You might as well just go all in. That's what your deck's built to do.
Right.
At some point, you have to just, like you say, not play around the random effects. If you have other options, then sure. But what are his other options like? Nah.
Rallying plus another minion or coin Valen here. But yeah, I feel like coining a weapon just to go phase doesn't really do much. Weapons are so strong because they're able to deal with minions without giving up your own minions. But coining it out here is essentially like throwing a fireball to the face, so Creeper makes more sense.
Someday I'll be just like you!
I can see that Mage is going to be a huge, interesting, like almost pivotal part of this meta, in that it's obviously got massive weaknesses and massive strengths. I think we're seeing that a lot more in general in the meta at the moment, actually, compared to maybe a month ago.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Because Mage has been built in such a way that it goes so hard on the secret synergy, it gives up a lot of its early game options to, well, not really early game options, but just ways of dealing with.
Yeah, it's just not very versatile at all anymore. It's one-mindedly killing you.
Yeah, it completely relies on Glyph to give it flex. Otherwise, it's very much just concerned with being able to burn down priests and warlocks, which are what Firebat was expecting to deal with. Unfortunately, he didn't quite get it.
Another pattern that happens at the start of a lot of metas is the very aggressive decks, the first ones built, because they have nothing to worry about. You just build it and do that, and then slowly the control decks react to that, and then it's up to the aggro decks to react again. At the moment, we're in the react to the aggro deck phase. Now, this isn't a control deck from the paladin. This is just a different way of beating that mage aggro with your own aggro. But we are in the stage at the moment where people are starting to work on the control decks a bit more. So maybe mage fades away a little bit after the next couple of weeks.
Well, we shall see if if Paladin rises up again. You're totally right. So, if I'm not mistaken, I think Firebat is really just praying to draw a wonder from his deck of wonders. Now, I don't really know what kind of draw can help him in this situation.
It's the other thing again, like, can he get a block set up, get the weapon up, start burning phase? That end happens just quicker than it seems. Then maybe top deck something called Deck of Wonders to keep under control, but it's all looking a bit too slow.
Yeah, at 6, it really just doesn't work. If it were like, say, turn 8.
Right.
This turn, going into 9 mana, he top decks a Fireball, plays that with the Ice Block. Following turn, top decks a Pyroblast. Maybe he somehow gets there, but it's just not going to work. Oh! Karakazam. Haven't seen that in a while. It does give Firebat some much-needed board presence, but it's just not enough to deal with all this.
This is a card I actually thought was half decent when it was printed. It's never seen play at all, ever, because things got out of control a bit. In the meantime, everything else is just better. Right,
it was just weak to so much of the AoE that's available on turn 5 or later, which is even more so now. And look at that, it's just Defile Bait. 1, 2, 3.
It also has the best pictures I've ever seen.
Right, I really like the, what's it, Beauty and the Beast reference? But kind of more sinister. Well, anyway.
Sinister Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, good point.
So obviously Firebat has to block here. Guess it's going to be a valet to follow that up on the Corridor Creeper. Trade away your 2/2. And trade away the 1/1 into the 2/1. But
and again, you're saying the T word. Everyone's just trading things away, and when Mage is doing that, he's not having any fun at all.
Well, the valet goes face because he sees that even if he trades away as much as he can, the block's still getting popped. So in that case, I think he's going for the draw a second glyph into block play.
Glyph into Kabbalist Tome, into 3 blocks, into Luneth.
No,
that's a great thing when you play Mage. You can just play for every out in the whole of Hearthstone.
Even Glyph into Tome, into block and other stuff doesn't get there because you can't play it all in one turn.
That's just not fair.
Yeah. But that is really the only way he gets out of it. When you go for the Hail Mary of Glyph into Kabbalist Tome, when you have a Hail Mary play, it's usually Glyph into Tome because just Glyph into one card won't do it. You need Glyph into block plus more card regeneration plus burn. And
plus doing it again would be helpful. So you just need to get this loop of fireballs, glyphs, and
just toads. Never happens, basically. Like having some fun with bouncing the Direwolf buffs there, so it really has has to be Deck of Wonders. Like, oh, it's Yogg parceled out over several turns.
The annoying thing is the opponent is you do have to play around all that stuff that we just talked about that everybody knows isn't actually going to happen. Just in case it does. Because you can just... Somebody in the next 4 months will lose a game of Hearthstone to something like that nonsense we just described.
Right.
And they won't be happy because they will have made a mistake and play into it.
So, I hope nobody's offended when I say that game was ridiculous.
No, I'm not offended.
Yeah. No, you wouldn't be, obviously, but the players, I mean... We saw a bunch of 1/1s played out just as 1/1s. Sure, some of them had Divine Shield, but these are things that die very easily to most other decks. But again, because we know the mage is so all in on trying to deal with warlocks and priests, they do not pack enough of small AoE.
Yeah. Well, that's why things have mana cost. Like, it turns out that a load of 1/1s, it's like those old questions, would you rather fight one thing or one of 7 things?
Well, clearly that mage would rather just deal with one thing they can polymorph.
How many 5-year-olds? Yeah. So that was pretty terrifying for the mage. Couldn't deal with that at all. You could see from the start that pinging the 1/1s was never going to keep him under control. But yeah, he felt that was his best turn on that particular turn. But you couldn't keep up a long-term strategy. And now it's going to be a matchup we're going to see a lot of over the next 2 days, mage versus priest.
Ooh, a classic. And back in the day when priests were not really able to fight back with any mage kind of felt it was easy pickings if they weren't running too much healing either. But these days, priests run every sort of solution. They run their own counter, like early game minions sometimes with the Radiant. They run, Anduin to race the mage, and they run Priest of the Feast, Valen, everything. So it really depends on how those answers line up for the priest in this case.
Is a Luneth massive in this one?
Yeah, should be. Firebat, I don't think he's running any weapon removal. So if... Oh, sorry, I don't think Yulsic is running any weapon removal. So if Firebat gets an Luneth, it's definitely a keep.
Yeah, I was trying to bait him on stream a few days ago. I kept saying, oh yeah, you've got to keep throwing a Luneth away. He's like, Orange says you always keep a Luneth. I'm always going to keep a Luneth, damn it. So, yeah, I knew full well that was going to be the answer. But, hey, somebody's just got to troll a little bit.
Right. So speaking of things lining up, definitely that's also a concern for the mage because it's also so all in on the secret synergy. So this hand is so insane for Firebat. He's got Arcanologist into Kirantor plus a secret, and then the secret off the Arcanologist plus Cabal Crystal Runner to follow up. Yeah,
I love Crystal Runner when you get it on 4. It feels so good. We know that Priest has that window where it's not too stable between about turns 4 and 7, where they have like Shadow Word Death and any minions they've played are their only defense. Maybe a Dragonfire on turn 6, but if it's coming down turn 4, you have to wait, and then they reload with a Corridor Creep. Yeah, Firebat's got every chance here.
Yeah, and for Yulsic, though, it's not like this hand is the worst in the world either. He has a decent 2-drop in the form of Loot Hoarder. Just, it's not the best thing, but at least you have something to do while you cycle. And then Glimmerroot can be insane if you get Ice Block, for example.
However,
that's
Firebat,
the dream!
Bit of a smirk on his face.
That is a world champion draw right there, ladies and gentlemen.
He exhaled and he nodded as if to say, yeah, now it's looking good.
And Yulsic has Forehead in hand.
Yeah, and he hasn't even seen what we've seen.
Yeah. Still think it's the Hoarder here. Radiant only challenges the Mana Worm if you expect that there's not much to do for Firebat.
And if it gets Frostbolted, that's like GG.
The worst.
I was the Frostbolt.
Well, with this hand from Firebat, it's just... I don't think Yulsic could have played around anything.
We have many.
You can't play around with this. I mean, you know it can happen, and he knows how the deck works.
Yeah.
Firebat is just able to deal with one of the biggest problems that Priest has, right? And it's one of the few things, you get through this early on, you get through another couple of minions and you are set. This Glimmerroot's going to die to a 3-1 Mana Worm a lot of the time here.
Yup. That's not like Yulsic has a choice. Next turn will probably be Hoarder and Thalnos for him, and he needs to draw into some huge swing. I'm thinking Kazakus is the way out for Yulsic here.
Yeah, he's trying to find a world where he doesn't have to play the Glimmerroot. He can get away with a Loot Hoarder, but then it just doesn't work.
Nope.
Okay. Fireball actually will come in handy with dealing with this Crystal Runner, but...
Oh, we keep forgetting about the runes.
Yeah.
Worm doesn't even have to trade.
It's just a nightmare.
It's just gonna go in for 9 over the course of this game or more.
Right. Miss lethal. Didn't get glyph into glyph into glyph for half an hour.
Well, would you take the scroll here for a Firebat? It doesn't get
the ice block.
Yeah, it doesn't get any mana reduction. But I feel like with this kind of start where you're so far ahead, maybe you can go for the random pick. But of course, with Pyroblast and already naturally run a block in your deck, that must mean it's a good card.
Right, and the deck is now full of burn because he's drawn so many minions early. He's going to have a lot of turns, just go Fireball into Frostbolt into... And again, if he draws a Luneth, that's kind of what you're always playing when you're picking up longer-term games against the Priest.
Yeah.
Because he might just win this in 4 turns and it won't matter what he does on turn 9. But.
Exactly, and I think Yulsic has to Fireball a 1 health minion here. The ultimate feels bad, man.
He can't draw a card in any way that makes any sense.
You could Fireball the 4/3 and then hope to draw into Pyro or Spirit Lash. I guess that gives him...
I wonder.
Because if you Fireball away the Mana Worm, I feel like there's less ways to possibly deal with the Kirin Tor. Of course, he's taking more damage in the immediate turns. So...
He's still got to play around the secret.
Yeah.
It's just horrible for him.
At this point, you really can't think it's counterspell.
Yeah.
You lose to that every time. So the worm finally dies in the most unceremonious way possible.
An incredible discovery!
Self-knowledge is doing good work as well. Oh my goodness.
I'm late.
Talk about two extremely lopsided matchups. We saw that last game as well. Like one deck just has absolutely everything, the other has nothing to deal with. Like,
Crystal Runner's not late at all. She's actually just in time here, I think. Can't see what Yulsic can do. Like, drawing cards is too slow.
I don't see it either. It had to be Kazakus there, honestly.
Must consider.
Or the Glimmerroot had to get something better. So he's not dead on board from what he can see. So I guess you just play out 2 minions that draw. But even then, if you draw Kazakus, I think you'll be at too low of a health total to even stabilize.
So he's now just doing whatever he can to try to survive, because that's all you've got to hope. Then you've got to hope that the mage hasn't got anything worth having in their hand.
Job's done.
Right, but what is dead weight right now for the mage? I guess a freshly drawn card.
Yeah, okay, sure. But even that, if you're going to win this game as the Priest, the Corridor Creeper is going to lose a lot of that mana cost.
Okay, so this gives a window for Yulsic. If he top decks Dragonfire Potion, could at least get rid of the threats on board. Again, he can't respect Counterspell even the slightest.
Firebat. Yeah. No, not even sure if he wants to want to face.
I think the Loot Hoarder makes
sense. The Loot Hoarder makes sense, of course. And that's just no way of saving it.
Yeah, not going to do it.
Looks like Firebat is going to be taking on Kranich tomorrow.
Ooh, very epic matchup from these BlizzCon veterans.
Yes, 2 more BlizzCon veterans. Obviously, Yulsic, another one. He's not a veteran, but from last year, however you want to word that. We've got a lot of world champions, a lot of future world champions, and a lot of world championship contenders in this 16 players here. So, looking forward to seeing how that one pans out tomorrow.
Absolutely, but we still got a ton of great matchups today coming up. I think will be between Aaron and
G9, which is
G9.
The artist formerly known as Malygos, who decided that he doesn't like Malygos anymore, or doesn't want to be referred to as Malygos.
Yeah, clearly he hasn't brought it in his...